Welcome to Spicy Toes Gaming and our Diana guide for Path of Champions. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Starting off with a overview of the champion, just to give you the basics of how the champion works, what its strengths and weaknesses are, and whether this is someone you want to invest your time and shards into leveling up. So first we have aggro. Diana is a very aggro deck. That means you're trying to play units and end the game very quickly. You're being very aggressive and not defensive, so you might be taking hits, but you're trying to trade back harder and end the game very quickly. Next we have Nightfall. So Diana and all of her cards scale around Nightfall. So what that means is they get a bonus if it's not the first card you play in a round. So you want to play one card that doesn't benefit from Nightfall, and then all your other cards that you play that round will then benefit from that Nightfall and get a bonus. So that's generally how the mechanic that Diana and her kit is based around. Next we have Strong Early. This somewhat ties in with the aggro playstyle, but as a deck, while Diana does scale very well, especially when you get her to max level and 3 star powers, she is actually strong at the very beginning, and even though you won't end games as quickly, you still definitely don't feel weak, unlike someone like Teemo, where he dominates in the late game when he's really maxed out. Diana is good throughout the entire game, including early. Next we have unique 3 star power. Now, what I mean by that is that her 3rd star power isn't just her 1st star power doubled. So for almost every champion, there's a couple exceptions, but for most of them, their rank 3 star power is just their 1st star power doubled. So it might be grant a unit 1/1 for rank 1, and then for rank 3, it's grant a unit 2/2. That's not how Diana works. Her 3 star power actually adds a completely new element to her kit, and it's a lot of fun, and we'll touch on that right after this overview. Next we have Consistent. So Diana's deck works very well. There's not really any RNG elements built into it other than the fact that it's just a card game, so it's just going to be different on what you draw, but there's no randomness really in her kit. She's very consistent and can consistently pull out strong wins. Next we have Unit Focused. So there's no real spells in her kit to protect your units or destroy enemy units. Her entire kit is primarily just focused on your units, getting them big, and destroying the enemy with them. So if you're sick of playing a spell-based build, Diana can be one that is good for you. So this ties into the previous point, but no removal. So the only spells she has, one, essentially you're mainly using it to trigger your Nightfall, so you're playing it as the first card so that you can then play your other cards. And then the other one is just a buff card that, while it's very good, it's not helping you with removing enemy champions. So some of your units have Challenger, like Diana, so that's going to be the main way you're removing enemy threats. But as far as having a spell to kill an enemy, you don't have that baseline in your kit. Alright, that's it for the overview. We will hop in a game now and take a look at Diana, her deck, her star powers, and what relics you might want to run on her. In game here with Diana, you see we have her at level 27. She is 3 starred. So Diana herself is a 2-cost champion, and she's baseline 2/2. And she has Quick Attack and then Nightfall, or when you activate another Nightfall, give me Challenger this round. And then her level up is you've activated Nightfall 4 or more times. She then goes to a 3/3, and now when she has Nightfall, or when you activate another one, give her +2 this round as well as Challenger. Her champion spell, Diana's Pale Cascade. Give an ally 1/1 this round, and then if it's Nightfall, you also draw 1. This is a very good card. Really helps you being able to get some draw in your kit baseline so you don't run out of cards, and can really help scale up Diana. So she is pretty strong, and being a 2-cost champion is very nice because if you have the 2 stars, then you'll at least be able to play her at the very start of the game if you would like. So taking a look at star powers. So Outcast Edge, the first version, so the first star power is allies have Nightfall, grant me +2. So that's just what it is baseline for the 1 star. Once this gets upgraded to the 3 stars, it then also grants quick attack, and then if I already have a quick attack, grant me double attack instead. So Diana has quick attack, so she'll be getting double attack if you play her with Nightfall, which is very strong. Now her 2 star is the +1 starting mana, and then when you play your first card each round, refill 1 mana. This is very nice. It lets you being able to play a card and then trigger your Nightfall. This gives you more freedom to be able to play the cards you want, and is very helpful. One thing I'll note is if you're playing a card that costs 0 mana, so your normal baseline mana is not going to go down, it will then refill 1 spell mana. So another just quality of life bonus, very nice, so you're still not wasting that proc of getting that 1 mana refill. So her star powers work out very well, and that double attack is very strong. You don't need to upgrade it to 3 stars for her to be good, so it's not like some champions where she needs it, but she does get a very large power spike with those 3 stars, whereas some other champions really you don't need the extra increase because normally it's just a slight stat increase. Alright, taking a look at the starting deck. So one of her 2 spells is Heavens Aligned. So if this is Daybreak, create a random Nightfall card in hand, and then Nightfall, create a random Daybreak card in hand. So there's one of 2 ways you want to use this. Either you want to use this as the card you play at the start of the round to give you another Nightfall card, as well as to trigger your Nightfall effects. So you'll be able to play this, and then all your other cards you play will then be Nightfall, so that's great. But you can also play this once you've already got your Nightfall effect activated to help level up Diana, or if Diana's leveled up and you play this and it's Nightfall, she'll get that +2 attack or +2 power, just making her hit a bit harder, so that's something to bear in mind. Next we have the Lunari Dustbringer. Again, this is a great card for getting your Nightfall effect activated, so it's 1 cost. You play it, and then it will refill that 1 mana because of the level 2 star power, and then it creates this Dusk Petal Dusk in hand, which can trigger the Nightfall then for your next round. So you play this as the first card, it refills the 1 mana, and then it makes the next Nightfall card you play cost 1 less. Special little effect that I just found out in my last game. This actually makes it so your Diana can go to 1 cost, which then will benefit from Yip's Genius, the rare or epic power in game that makes your 1-cost allies have 2/2. So Diana can then benefit from that. So pretty niche situation, but is something to bear in mind if you ever get that power on Diana. Lunari Shadestalker, pretty good, gives you a bit more draw as well as an elusive. Mountain Goat, decent card, another way to trigger spells for your Nightfall, so you can play this first and then have your Nightfall activate. You have your Pale Cascade, so this is just the normal version, which can also be Diana's leveled up effect. So the Pale Cascade also gets Hextech Fabricator rank 2, so this gives you chance to add a rare item onto your whoever's your strongest champion or unit. Very strong, really can help you buff up your Diana or any other unit, and with that draw effect you can get multiples of these and just keep playing them, and can really scale out of control. Crescent Guardian, this card, very strong baseline, but then once you get the Savage Shield, it just goes to Nightfall 6/6. Well, actually it's 8/6 because of the star powers you get with Diana. Very strong, very good card to have. Lunari Priestess. This card, I don't really like it at all. So Nightfall, Invoke, and it has a very weak stat line. This is the card that I always cut if I'm cutting a card from the baseline deck. This is the one that I will go to. It's 3 cost, and we have this other card that just is an absolute monster for 3 cost. The Priestess with a weak stat line, and just the Invoke is not worth it in my opinion. Lastly, we have the Cloven Way. So, pretty decent once you get that medallion. Before the medallion, you might want to cut it, but this is Nightfall, stun an enemy, and then if it's a follower, they get stunned the next round as well. So that's it for her deck. Let's now take a look at the relics. So, Gale Force, Scout, Round End, Recall Me. This works very well on Diana. Really letting you get those 2 attacks in. This is what helps Diana be able to OTK enemies, which just means killing them in a single round. Very, very strong. Troll King's Crown, very necessary for if you have the 3-star Diana, because that double attack, if you don't have Overwhelm, then a unit can just block you, and after you kill them with your first attack, your second attack just fizzles out. So this build right here is much more focused on if you have a 3-star Diana. This helps you just end the game in a single round. Very strong. The Spell Shield is also very good on Diana because you don't really have a good way to protect her. Diana doesn't really have good spell cards as far as for removal or protection. The Pale Cascade is great, gives you more draw, and can really buff up Diana, but if you just have a spell coming at you that's just kill this unit, it doesn't matter how much attack you have or how much health you have, you'll just die. So, for a common slot, Banshee's Veil is pretty well. Works pretty well. I would also say the Starchild Staff isn't bad if you have a common slot. Since it's an aggro deck, you often will be getting some hits on your Nexus, at least early game. That's one thing to consider. Z-Drive Prototype can be good, so you can get the right powers for Diana, gain more rerolls. Chameleon's Necklace, very strong. Just make sure you get Diana on turn 1, and then if you have extra Dianas, they just turn into Pale Cascades, which are very good as well. So those are the common ones that I would put on Diana if you're looking for something like that. So if you don't have Gale Force, or you don't have a Diana that is that 3 stars, then you probably don't want to run with this build. You might want to have Diana that's more staying on the board. So what I would go with in that situation, here it is. So the Grand General's Counterplan, round start, create a fleeting copy of me in hand. So what this is going to be is it's going to be your Pale Cascade. So you're able to play that. It's then going to put another Diana in your deck and draw one. It's going to give you that rare item as well as increasing your stats. This doesn't really work well if you have Gale Force on, since Gale Force, you're going to be recalling Diana at the end of the round, so you're not going to get the bonus of this, because round start, she's not going to be on the board. But if you're not using Gale Force, the General's Counterplan, very good, very strong. The Collector can be pretty good if you want to do a Bounty Hunter build. Since you get that Challenger with Nightfall, you can always challenge and be able to kill a couple units each round. So if you're wanting a bit more of a interesting playstyle, you can go to the Collector and Bounty Hunters to just get a lot of gold and get an absolutely massive Diana. Crown Guard Inheritance can work out well, so you can rally and end the game. That being said, you do have to be more mindful of when you're going to get your level up, so it doesn't happen when you already have the attack token. And Archangel Staff can be good if you're focused more on your counterplan build. So you're wanting to play a whole bunch of your champion spell, you might want to run with Archangels. Alright, so that's a brief rundown of the different relics you might want to use. If you're doing 3-star Diana, Gale Force and Troll Kings works very well together to just end games immediately. But if not, if you don't have those 3 stars, then you might want to use one of the other relics we mentioned. Also, since she's such a low-cost champion, just the flat stat relics, like the Fist or the Hammer, can also work pretty good on her. Alright, that's it for the in-game section. We'll now go take a look at the powers you might want to get while you're in your adventures with Diana. Taking a look at the powers, so we have Counterfeit Production, Round Start, create a fleeting, 0-cost counterfeit copies in hand, and then the Craftsman Favor, Round Start, create a fleeting time and dedication in hand. So these are both fitting the same purpose of having a spell you can play at the start of each round that's cheap, that lets you have all your Nightfall effects trigger each round. So Counterfeit Copies is better, costs 0 mana, and then you can use that on Diana to just put a whole bunch of Dianas in your deck. If you have a Diana on board, then those will turn into the Pale Cascades, which can just start spiraling and give you an absolutely massive Diana with all the rare items it's going to put on her. Craftsman Favor, still good, even though it costs 1 mana. If you have her 2-star, that 1 mana will be refunded. So still something good. These are powers you want to try to get on Diana if possible. They just really let you never have to worry about activating your Nightfall effects again. Next for the powers here, we have Trifarian Might, Domination, and Crush. So Trifarian Might is absolutely amazing on Diana, especially if you just have her first star power. So with her first star power, giving your allies +2 or granting them +2 power. If they Nightfall, this means almost all of your cards are going to be able to hit that 5 power threshold, so then it strikes the weakest enemy. This gives you massive removal, and you can just play every single one of your units after the enemy plays one of theirs, and you'll just be wiping the board with them. This works out amazingly well for Diana. Definitely grab it if you see it in game. Domination, Round Start Rally. You're playing an aggro deck, you want to be attacking every round if possible. This just helps you close out the game very quickly and stay on the offensive. Crush, allies have Overwhelm. Again, all your units are having big attacks. You want those attacks to be able to transfer damage onto the Nexus, and you don't want them to just get blocked out. So if you're not using Troll King's Crown, then you definitely want to try to get Overwhelm if possible. So last for the powers here, we have Sorcery, Round Start, refill your spell mana, and Spellslinger, your spells cost 1 less. So these are less important for Diana, unless you're trying to go for more of the game plan of using the Grand General's counter plan. You're wanting to be using a lot of Pale's Cascades to buff up your Diana, then these are going to work a lot better for you, and make sure you can do that more readily. If you're just playing more aggro Diana, and not necessarily working on your spells or worrying about them, these are less needed, but they're still nice to have just so you can have the freedom to play your spells when you want. Alright, that's it for the in-game powers. We'll now go look at the support champions you might want to get with Diana. Support champions for Diana. So as always, I don't want to just give you a list of support champions. I want to get you the criteria, what you want to look at potentially with a support champion. So always look at the items, of course, but here are some also other aspects you should probably look at when you're thinking of support champions for Diana. So removal. Diana's kit doesn't have any removal in it, so a champion that has some removal spells baseline can really help shore up one of the only weaknesses in Diana's kit. Next we have Nightfall. So Diana's whole kit revolves around Nightfall, so a support champion that also scales with that is definitely helpful. And targeting allies. You're going to be using a lot of that Pale Cascade, your 2-cost spell. So an ally that scales with targeting allies every round or multiple times can be very beneficial. So for champions, Darius, he comes with a 3-cost removal spell, works out pretty well, and then he's also a aggro champion. so it pairs fairly nice with Diana. Next we have Nocturne, scaling with Nightfall, can be also very good, levels up very easily. And then Pantheon, very strong champion, also works with targeting allies, and can really help you close out games. So there's some support champions, there's definitely going to be other ones that I don't have listed here, but just wanted to give you some tools for looking at champions and seeing if there's someone you might want to use with Diana. Alright, that's it for the guide. Thank you so much for watching, and like and subscribe. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching that video all the way to the end. If you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe. We're putting out multiple videos every single day for Path of Champions content. So if that interests you, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and welcome to the channel. Have a great day.